What is Japan's immigration reality? Across many developed countries, labor shortages driven by aging populations and declining birth rates have become a major social issue. Japan is no exception. The number of foreign workers has been steadily increasing, largely due to labor shortages. However, simply looking at the surface level number of more foreigners does not reveal the full picture. What truly matters is how this intake is managed and what kind of impact it has on society. In recent years, immigration issues, particularly in Europe, have intensified. How is Japan dealing with similar challenges? Has it managed to avoid the large scale inflows and social disruptions seen in Europe, or is it facing similar risks beneath the surface? In this video, we will examine the reality of Japan's situation from both a data and institutional perspective, and compare it with Europe, particularly the United Kingdom, to understand the characteristics and challenges of Japan's immigration approach. Facts about the numbers. According to the latest data, the total number of foreign residents in Japan is approximately 4.125 million. Their purposes for staying in Japan are diverse, including work, business, study, family residence, and highly skilled professions. In terms of proportions, those staying for employment-related purposes, what are commonly referred to as foreign workers, account for roughly 45 to 48%, making them the largest group. At the same time, the number of permanent residents and family-based residents is increasing, meaning that not only short-term workers but also those who settle in Japan are steadily growing. However, when compared to Japan's total population of around 120 million, foreign residents account for only about 3.3%. Compared to European countries, this remains a relatively low level. By country of origin, the largest groups come from China, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Nepal. In recent years, growth has been particularly notable among migrants from Vietnam and Nepal. As for illegal immigration, often cited as a key issue, the number of overstayers in Japan is 68,488. This represents approximately 1.66% of the total foreign resident population. In other words, while the number of foreign nationals in Japan is increasing, their share of the total population remains relatively low compared to other major developed countries. Japan's unique system. As mentioned earlier, one reason Japan's foreign population remains relatively low compared to other developed countries is that many of those coming to Japan do so for temporary work. In Europe, a large proportion of migrants move with the intention of permanent residence or long-term settlement. In contrast, most of the foreigners increasing in Japan are staying for employment purposes, effectively as temporary workers. Programs such as the Technical Intern Training Program and the Specified Skilled Worker System are designed around the assumption of working in specific industries for a limited period. These systems impose clear restrictions on both length of stay and job type. There are many different visa categories, each with different conditions and treatment, so a full explanation would be extensive. However, the key point is that Japan's system is centered not on long-term settlement, but on time-limited labor. This structural difference is one of the most important distinctions between Japan and European immigration models. Japan's strengths. In global discussions, Europe is often cited as a region where immigration issues are particularly severe. Within Europe, the situation in the United Kingdom stands out as especially serious. There are several areas in which Japan's immigration management differs from, and can be considered more controlled than, that of Europe. The most fundamental difference is geography. Japan is an island nation surrounded by the sea, making illegal entry extremely difficult in practical terms. Unlike the UK, there is no route comparable to crossing the English Channel in small inflatable boats. This means that most unauthorized entry is effectively prevented at the point of entry. Even though the UK is also an island nation, it frequently receives hundreds of migrants in a single day during favorable weather conditions, crossing approximately 30 kilometers of relatively calm water from France. In contrast, such large-scale unauthorized entry is virtually impossible in Japan. All borders are maritime, and there are no land borders through which people can enter illegally. Earlier, we mentioned that Japan has 68,488 illegal immigrants. The ability to identify this number so precisely is directly linked to the fact that entry into Japan is almost entirely controlled through airports. In Europe, even official government figures on illegal immigration often rely on broad estimates, as it is difficult to collect accurate data. Another key difference lies in the difficulty of obtaining permanent residency. In Japan, the requirements for permanent residency are strict, including long-term contributions, Japanese language ability, and a solid record of tax payments. In contrast, in the UK, once asylum is granted, it is relatively easy to bring in family members, creating a structure where gaining entry can effectively secure long-term residence. There are also differences in countries of origin. Most foreign nationals coming to Japan are from Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam, as well as other Asian countries that are culturally closer, generally less religiously polarized, and often have relatively positive perceptions of Japan. In contrast, countries like the UK receive large numbers of migrants from Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. In many cases, the cultural and value differences are greater, making integration more challenging. Taken together, Japan maintains a relatively controllable environment through a combination of geographic conditions, institutional design, administrative management, and cultural proximity. The Takaichi administration's Zero Illegal Immigration Plan. Since Sanai Takaichi became prime minister in October last year, measures against illegal immigration have been significantly strengthened. Takaichi has set a goal of orderly coexistence without exclusionism. Her Zero Illegal Overstay plan includes multiple simultaneous measures such as accelerating deportation procedures, digitizing residency management, and introducing JESTA, an electronic travel authorization system. In addition, requirements for certain visas, permanent residency applications, and asylum screenings have been made significantly stricter than before. These policies are already showing results. Under the previous Ishiba administration, illegal immigration decreased slowly at around 1 to 2% per year. However, under the Takaichi administration, despite only beginning its term in October 2025, the number has decreased by 8.5% year-on-year, equivalent to approximately 6,375 fewer cases, indicating a 4 to 5-fold acceleration in the rate of decline. In particular, illegal overstays from major source countries such as Vietnam and Nepal are also decreasing. These policies are important not only for control, but also for creating a stable environment for foreign workers who are working lawfully and responsibly. However, challenges remain. Overstays from short-term visas and disappearances from technical training programs are difficult to eliminate entirely, and there are still cases where deportation cannot be fully carried out. At the same time, as more highly skilled workers enter through legal channels, the quality of management must continue to improve. In particular, maintaining strict standards for permanent residency and naturalization will be crucial in preventing sudden demographic shifts in Japan. Conclusion: Japan positions foreign workers not as immigrants in the traditional sense, but as temporary labor under controlled conditions. This allows the country to address labor shortages while maintaining social order. This approach is fundamentally different from the European model, which is based on large-scale acceptance of migrants with the expectation of long-term settlement. Considering the scale of illegal immigration and the associated social costs seen in Europe, Japan's current model of controlled and selective intake can be viewed as a significant strength. Going forward, maintaining the balance between accepting necessary labor and preserving social order will likely remain Japan's most realistic and sustainable path.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Deep Focus Japan for more videos on Japanese society and current issues.